You got me
Todd,
now?
how you doing, buddy?
Cool. Good. How are you? You can hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much
All right.
for doing this, hanging out here in Vancouver,
Finally made it.
Canada on the Toddcast. Um, I mean, I guess the obvious thing to start with is how's your camp with COVID and everything? Obviously, you guys are doing fine if you're about to release a new Offspring record.
Yeah, well, we kept a COVID safe studio happening all this year and did a lot of rehearsing and work in there and luckily kept busy getting this new record ready. So
Yeah.
everyone's doing good. I so far I never caught the dreaded coronavirus.
Have
I
you?
get tested all the time thanks to a lot of the music situations here in LA. It's just standard. They have a COVID compliance. So
Right.
when we're doing videos or rehearsing or photo shoots or whatever, it's everyone gets tested. So
And did you have you ever known anybody to have caught it?
yeah,
Yes.
I know a couple of people that caught it. Luckily, the people that I know didn't really have any harsh
No issues. Yeah.
yeah harsh
Yeah.
issues, but it's still scary. It's like
Oh, it's
it's like
scary. Yeah.
and the whole debate like where people. I think the thing that confused and bothered me the most was that people who weren't scientists and doctors were so sure of their opinion, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm a musician, so I don't know. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm hypochondriac a little bit to begin with, so
Right.
um,
Yeah.
and
Chuck in something that's killing people and yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Uh
I didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I just was like, I'm gonna keep safe, keep my mom safe, who's older,
right.
and my kids safe
Yeah,
best I could.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And like what's that like recording during a pandemic? Like how did that differ than, the last record?
Um, well, full disclosure, the bass on the new Offspring record was already recorded before I became the bass player. So,
Oh, okay.
so I was really just learning to
The
play it.
parts. Okay.
Yeah, the parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm really stoked on this record. It's when I play these songs, I mean, I don't know how much I can really give away, but when I play these songs, and all of us, we talk about, we can visualize like the crowd going off to them live, which is, to me, that's always been, especially coming up playing in punk rock with H2O and stuff. Like
Right.
our only question was ever like, is the crowd going to go off to this? It's always about the live show.
Well,
You know?
it has to be about the live show. Otherwise, what's the point,
Yeah,
right? Like that
yeah,
you're not in
yeah,
a band to make an album and be in studio. You're there to fucking,
yeah,
reach somebody on that different level at a live,
yeah,
event, right? Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
totally.
curious, Todd, what's the music in the Morse house as a kid growing up then? Like, is it right out of the gate that you're kind of, thrown into that world?
Um, no, no. I mean, my mom was like into like Neil Diamond and you know and classic rock, and I remember one Christmas she bought me a Kiss 45.
Nice.
I can't. I think
Like Love
I
Gun
think
or
it might have
something
been
like that?
shouted out loud or
Yeah, yeah.
and ACDC, and um, I really grew up on like classic songwriting, which I think sticks with me now when I go to do my own stuff.
Hmm.
But at some point when I was in school, I really didn't feel like I fit in with any type of group. Like all the long haired dudes that were listening to Zeppelin and Rush and stuff. Like I don't know, I wasn't cool enough for them, and whatever else was going on. And some
Hmm.
kid, this is really gonna date how old I am, but some kid gave me an 8 track with
Okay.
Circle Jerks Group Sex on one side and Sex Pistols Never Mind the Bullocks on the other side. Um,
And like, bing, that
and
opens up your
and I was
eyes.
like, wait, I can play that. I can
Yeah.
do that. And then it led to the Ramones. It come full circle. I just did a live stream with Juliette The Licks, which is my band with Juliette Lewis,
Right.
and we were rehearsing over here in the valley, and we came out to take a break, and we heard a band rehearsing in the next thing, and I was like, oh man, that sounds amazing. I was like, who is that? And they're like, that's the Circle Jerks.
No way.
So
Nice.
yeah, like my first ever punk I ever heard.
Yeah.
We're just standing outside, like rocking out, listening to them rehearse. It's a weird world I live in.
That's pretty crazy. What was
Yeah.
the first show that you saw? What was your first concert?
Black Flag.
Oh wow.
And I've talked about this a couple of times too, because there's some people there, but there's a place called the Channel in Boston. It was with Henry Rollins singing, and I'll never
Wow.
forget because the band started, and it was I mean, punk rock and hardcore like was really dangerous back then. I mean, like you could
Oh
really
yeah.
get hurt at a show. I
Totally.
mean, and so I was scared, but I was like, "Where's Henry? Where's Henry?" And he came crawling out from behind the drum set, no shirt on,
Nice.
like an animal,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in. This
Yeah.
is
And how
this
old
is
were you for
amazing.
that? Like you were like teenager or?
Yeah, I was a teenager. We rented a U-Haul. I was living in Rhode Island. We rented a U-Haul and put chairs in the back of it, and all of us sat in chairs and rode up to the show.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we got to the parking lot of the Channel, we rolled the thing up, and all the kids had gathered around, thinking we were the band.
Yeah. Nice.
It's,
Nice.
you don't forget that stuff.
No, of course not. That's what's shaping you where you are today.
Yeah.
So the new Offspring is out on April 16.
Yep.
It's called Let the Bad Times Roll.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, do you think that this is going to, I mean, not that it's tough to foreshadow this, but like, do you think that this is
Yeah.
going to be, not 10 years between, 8 years between albums? Like, do you think that maybe there's going to be a new Offspring record every couple of years? Like, what's that talking
That's
in the camp?
completely out of my hands
Yeah, that's what I thought.
because Dexter writes a song
Yeah.
and but I do know there's an excess of songs that were written for this that are already going towards another one. So I think that's a good sign that
Yeah.
there'll be some some
Yeah.
other stuff
Yeah. And what's Bob Rock like?
sooner than later. Huh?
What's Bob Rock like to hang out with? He seems like a pretty cool
He's
guy.
he's great. He's like a music encyclopedia. That guy.
Yeah.
And he's got a great ear for he can tell you, you can listen to an AC/DC record and he'll tell you exactly what amplifier and what guitar was being used.
That's
And,
crazy, right?
You know,
Like those, like
yeah,
there's music geeks like that everywhere, man. Like in
yeah.
Vancouver, if you talk with Garth Richardson or like Mike Fraser and all those
Mhm.
guys, like they're the same fucking style, man. They're all just like they totally are geeked out about it, and it's great, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if you have satellite radio, but I mean, I'm kind of like a amateur music trivia buff myself. Like
Yeah.
there's a great channel on Sirius XM called Volume. I don't know if you're familiar with
Okay.
this.
No.
But that is just the nerd out rock channel where it's just talk about music all the
Okay.
time,
I love that
and
stuff,
you can
man.
learn about the record and how it was made, and
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
there's this guy Eddie Trunk. I don't know if
Yeah, I know Eddie Trunk.
this
Yeah.
guy
I don't
Eddie
know him
Trunk.
personally, but I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
I think
these
that's
guys
one of
just know.
yeah, like they're just musicologists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that that's one of the things, Todd, that I don't know how old are you? I'm 47.
I am at level 54
You're,
right now.
you're at level 54. Okay, so you got me by a
Yes.
few years. You're like
Yeah.
the level above my brother's 50, so you're like the next level above my
Yeah.
brother.
I just
Um,
started saying level instead of
I love
level.
it. You've made it at the level 54. I love it.
I made it to
Um,
level 54.
Nice. That's a
I'm a
big level.
gamer.
But
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the things that's missing from today's music, and I think that that's why it's so like disposable. Is that there's no more like sitting on the floor in front of the record player and reading the liner notes and like reading the lyrics and all like that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that that's
No,
one of the reasons.
that's another thing that this guy Bob Left. I always pronounce his name wrong, but that I was listening to on Volume, and also Eddie Trunk was talking about how, you know, you like the song, you had to go buy the record if you wanted to hear the rest, and so people had to make great records, or else you weren't going to buy another one, and that was it. You wouldn't hear the band's next record because, and the package and everything was part of it, and it was really special. And it's hard to gauge if anyone in the new generation is really missing out on that. It's really hard to gauge because it's from a time, you know.
Yeah.
And but I do think that rock and roll music and guitar based music was cooler when you had to search for it, you know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you felt cooler about finding it when it wasn't so accessible, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, this whole thing about rock is dead or whatever. I mean, rock is not dead.
No.
When they say that, they're talking about the mainstream. They're talking about the Billboard charts and everything. But I'll tell you what, if DJs just started playing more rock would be mainstream again because that's people learn about music through repetition of hearing it all the time. It's what they're feeding us. It's not because we go out and play. I go out and play with all these bands all over the world, and there's fans everywhere for guitar music. You know,
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
not
They're
going
still
away.
there.
No, it's not going away.
It's not going away.
No.
Just like I think radio stations are just scared to take a chance now because they're just so locked into the advertising and the whole thing. But I mean, if every station across the country started playing the new Offspring single like 5 times a day, it would be a hit. It's a hit song, you know.
Right.
It's like, but no one does it anymore. It's I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird.
But does
it's
it need
a
to be
weird time for
mainstream?
music.
You know, then there's the question of like, does it even need to be mainstream? I mean, the Offspring has fans all over the world already. You know,
Probably not. Yeah. And how did you get into the band then? So how did that, like, was it just a call from one of the guys or like what happened there?
So I went from H2O, and I was still kind of overlapped H2O. I was playing with Juliette Lewis and the Licks for 5 years, and we toured like crazy all over the world and put out 2 records, and then that kind of crumbled. And as that crumbled, I took the guys that were in that band, the Licks, and we started this cover band called Petty Cash, and we had a residency in Hollywood. We would do Tom Petty and Johnny Cash covers.
Nice.
We actually were opening for Steel Panther for a while.
Oh, great.
About Steel Panther, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun guys.
Which is also how I met my wife. But what was my point? Oh, so during that time, the Offspring had a utility back guy, guitar player, singer that they got rid of, and their production guy came to see Petty Cash, and I guess had a light bulb, heard me singing because they needed someone to sing a lot of backing vocals, and asked me to audition. And
wow.
I mean, I still had to go up against like 40 dudes.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just at the time I really needed it, so I worked really hard to. Auditioning is terrible and hard. You know?
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking.
I just wanted to do good at the audition, and I guess I made it through. And so then I played guitar for 10, almost 11 years, background guitar, and then when the bass player left, they were like, "Hey, you want to play bass?" And so now I'm the bass player for like a year now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And now it's just a matter of being able to tour that new album, which of course is coming soon.
Yeah.
Man. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of records coming out, man.
Yeah.
I think it's. Yeah, actually, I was just looking at right before I got on you. I always check. I looked on the website to see if our June European dates are still there, and they are.
Oh, nice.
There.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah, I've seen some more and more like the safety self-quarantine shows, like Corey Taylor just Slipknot and Stone Sour.
Yeah, he's great.
He just released like a not a news whatever. He just said that he's going to work on the 3-week tour where it's like you need to prove that you've had the vaccine and all that kind of shit. But I mean, eventually it'll come around to some sort of normal eventually.
Yeah, I like that green card idea thing where they give you the card on your phone that you just show when you go to the airport or whatever that says you got vaccinated. And,
yeah.
How is the vaccines going up there? Are you vaccinated or?
I'm not. No, not yet. I mean, I think I'm probably like one of the last people to get it. Right, I'm relatively healthy, 40-year-old, mid 40-year-old guy. Right, but they're saying that we'll have the BC will have everybody vaccinated by July. I think they said, which is pretty good. You know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it'll be fast. I mean, we'll get there. We have like summer plans and all that. It's all set in stone, and we'll we'll try to keep on as normal as possible.
Yeah. Excuse
Yeah.
me 1 second.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Hi,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
my daughter, True.
Hi,
Hi.
True. Hi. That's cute.
Do you have something to ask me? Because I'm doing a podcast here. Huh?
Have you seen an eraser?
An eraser?
Really hidden mine.
Why don't you look in your basket, babe? Can you shut my door? Thank you. Um,
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, I love Canada, by the way. I mean,
Yeah, so good, right? I mean,
some of my best times, some of my best friends are the Sum 41 guys,
oh, great.
and I did a couple of records. Me and Cone, the bass player, and we traveled and did like a promo tour there together, and just I don't know. I've just had, and every time I play a show up there, just fans really they've never stopped appreciating guitar music there.
Yeah.
You said you're in Vancouver?
Vancouver, yeah. Yeah, I've been here for
yeah.
most of my life. Yeah. Yeah, I love it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Pretty sure Bob Rock has a studio up there.
He does, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's get outside of music, Todd, and what you're known
Okay.
for. What have you
Okay.
been binging over the pandemic? Like what are the shows you just can't get enough of? Because of course we're all doing it right now.
Yeah. Well, I just finished Your Honor, the Bryan Cranston thing.
Okay. Haven't seen that
I'm
yet.
a huge Breaking Bad guy, so I also watched Aaron Paul had one, Truth Be Told, which is another
Right.
cool one.
Yeah. Did you get into what was the other one? Better Call Saul?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love Better Call Saul.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. It's really starting to go into Breaking Bad now. Well, it's
Oh,
I heard that they've really got stalled on production of the next few episodes, but
right.
I love Peaky Blinders. I'm waiting for that to come back.
Yeah. Great show.
What else do we get into?
Did you get into the WandaVision? Are you a fan
Yes.
of comic books and all
Yes.
that? Like, how
Yes.
good was that? Because that was like the first episode. I was like, this is weird, man. This is just not what I was expecting. And of course, I gave it another chance. I'm a huge comic book fan, right?
Yeah.
And then by second episode, it just got so good. And I heard that that the Disney Plus servers crashed because of of how many people wanted to watch the season finale of that.
Yeah. It's a slow burn start, and a lot
Totally.
of my, a lot of my friends like Pete Parada, the drummer from Offspring, and our new backing guitar player Jonah Nimoy, they're super comic book guys, and they said the same thing. Like they weren't sure at first, and then they were just fully in. What I love about it, it's the first superhero series that I can watch with my kids, and like my daughter. I'd come home from like a rehearsal or something. My daughter's like, new WandaVision. Like,
Yeah.
she's 7,
Yeah.
and some of it's a little scary. And it's the first time she's been able to watch like something that intense,
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
what I like about it is it goes back to when we were little kids, where we had to wait till next Friday to see the next Cheers, or you know what I mean? Like,
I know
like it's kind of nostalgic for us, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to really get, into the metaphors here, it's the same thing with having to wait for a record to come out before you heard it, or having to go to the store to buy it. It creates this appreciation and anticipation of art that, I don't know, I just think it's a give it to me now nation, like,
Oh yeah.
The dead Kennedys were way ahead of their time with "Give me convenience" or "Give me death."
Yes.
Like it's
Yeah,
like,
big time.
I
Because
think-
that was the other part of growing up as a kid. It wasn't only just waiting for the albums, but it was also, you didn't have internet, and if you wanted to learn about the band, you best be buying Rolling Stone and Spin and Circus and all those other
totally, yeah. I love
magazines
looking
and-
at Spin back in the
Yeah,
day.
man. And it was like, I don't know if you got Good Rockin' Tonight where you're from, but it's essentially, MTV or, Much Music
Yeah.
kind of thing. But like all of those TV shows too were very like super influential for
Yeah.
a guy that was or a girl that were music fans.
Did you guys have 120 minutes up there?
120
MTV
minutes.
120 minutes. It came on at
No.
midnight. Do you remember that? No.
No. What
That
was
was where, like, that was where we first saw, the first Offspring video, the first Faith No More video.
Oh, okay.
Like that was our, like, you stay up till midnight to see something new and cool in music videos. You know,
Right.
that was
Yeah. No, we had the Good Rockin' Tonight, um,
yeah,
and then yeah, the Friday night videos. And Friday night
yeah,
videos was fucking awesome because they would play like everything, like
yeah,
everything, go from Van Halen Jump to like Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, or
yeah,
just
yeah.
it was all over the map, but it was cool.
Yeah, I
Do you?
remember seeing the first time I saw the Cro-Mags was, I believe it or not. Now I'm friends with, John and those guys, but that We Gotta Know video was,
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, oh my god, these guys are scary.
And it was cool because back then, if you had a video, it kind of legitimized your band a little bit.
It did, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not the same as today where like, yeah, you make a video, yeah, you got a video, whatever. But like
yeah,
back in the fucking 80s was like, what? You have a video that's not only like it's good, but it's really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's weird, man. I mean, we just shot an Offspring video for the single, "Let the Bad Times Roll," and you just something. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, where does this get shown now? Like,
Totally.
I
I
don't
mean,
even know.
that's a Offspring YouTube channel kind of thing, right? Like it's just a
Yeah,
weird time
yeah,
to be
yeah.
making videos too. Do you go down the rabbit hole of aliens? Like, do you think aliens have visited Earth? Do you think they live among
Um,
us? Because some people do, man.
um, yeah. I'm not a skeptic of that. I mean, I think it's more arrogant to think that it's not, that they're not around. I mean, I mean, creation in life I'm really into, like, where we came from and how we're all connected, mentally and all that stuff. I mean, it can't just be us. There's no way, I mean,
Right.
science stops at a certain point. I don't know if you're into, like, quantum physics and all that stuff, like, but at some point science stops and they get to this thing called the God particle, that they call it, or whatever, and they don't know beyond that.
Mhm.
So that fascinates me.
Yeah. Same.
I think I think there's got to be, if they're among us. I mean, I've met some people that
I know.
I've met
I
some
feel the
people that
same
could
way. Like,
possibly
man,
be
you're like
aliens
just a
too.
little something's a little bit off. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever
But
had a near? Have you ever had a near death experience? Like, not where you're floating over your body, but
um,
like, holy crap, I could have died there.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There was a time when, H2O, we let me try to think where this was. We had a show. We ended a tour in California, and we had a show in Pittsburgh, like 2 or 3. We had to drive all the way across the country to another show, like in 3 days or something. And I mean, this is kind of a long story. I don't want to go too long, but what happened was we were speeding and listening to music, and we didn't realize that a cop had been following us, his lights on, for like a long time, and then it turned into 5 cops by the time we got pulled over.
Wow.
And then when they were telling us to get out of the van, but the speaker on it was, everything could went wrong. The speaker was like, and so Rusty, our guitar player, got out of he's like, I can't hear you. And then it was guns drawn. We were in the middle of Wyoming. There was a couple of workers across the way that just ran. So it became no one anywhere, all of us on our knees, surrounded by cops with shotguns to our heads. And
Holy shit.
I think probably that was the one time I was like, anything could happen and no one's gonna know about it right now. There's no one around. The only people witnesses took off running. And that scared me because, like, maybe they were used to something happening. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But it was all a misunderstanding. I don't know what it was, but that was probably the closest I came to thinking, oh, this is it.
Packing it in here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Todd, thank you again. Thank you again
yeah,
for doing this with us today. I want to respect your time,
yeah,
man. I've only
yeah,
got
yeah. No worries.
one more question, and it's a big one.
Sure. Okay.
Can you nail it down to one career highlight?
I think about this all the time. I mean,
There's so many moments, probably, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, my go-to, just if I'm just going to say the first one that pops into my head, when I started touring with Juliette in Europe and stuff, like we really worked. We really were trying to build, and we were in small clubs and then slightly bigger clubs, and somehow Dave Grohl took a liking to the band and ended up playing drums on our second record.
No way.
It's called Four on the Floor.
Okay.
That was a whole career high in itself because he didn't even hear the songs before he came to the studio. We'd play him the song and he'd go, "Okay, let's go," and we just rocked it live, and it was incredible.
Wow.
But out of that, he asked us to play with them in Hyde Park in London, and which he thought was going to be 30 to 40,000 people or something, and the lineup was Angels and Airwaves, Juliette The Licks, Queens of the Stone Age, Motorhead, and Foo Fighters, and 90,000 people showed up, and that show. And also Brian May was there, and the drummer from Queen, all standing on the side of the stage when we were playing. You know,
Yeah,
Lemmy,
no pressure.
yeah, yeah. I just remember going, how did I get here? You know, that was one of the coolest shows I've ever done. And because of that show, we had a little show booked in London like a month later. That show sold out, and we ended up going up to like a 3,000 seater just because of that show.
Wow.
And from then on out, it was 3,000 seaters, you know. So that was kind of pivotal for that band, you know.
Right. And maybe I want to touch on this real quick then, while we're talking about Juliette and the Licks. How different was that being in a band with somebody that was already famous? Do you think that it gave it a leg up on things, or beneficially, and also on the other side where it's like, oh, it's that actress chick, like, don't really give her time of day. Do you know what I mean?
That's an easy answer because we watched it change from one thing to another. It was stalker actress fans at first.
Right.
That's what it was at first. Then the band got good, and then, you know, it started to be music fans. Well, we started getting good reviews in England and Europe because they should, by all means, be bashing us because it's an actress. You know,
right.
When we started getting good reviews, we were like, okay, we're a band now. You know, like when we would meet other bands, they would be into it and want to hang out with us. We were just, because I thought, you know, everyone would be like, fuck this, you know, actor band, you know.
Yeah.
But we saw it change from people just coming to see her to people coming to see the band, and that was a cool thing to do, to watch, you know.
Yeah.
So
is there ever an album coming out from that band again, or is that completely off the table?
We just performed Saturday night. We just performed 2 brand new songs, and we're texting right now about going in the studio in a week.
Amazing.
Or two, so.
Oh, that's great. Great news.
Yeah.
Wow, man. This cat, like, Todd has no time of day for anything but rock.
I don't.
I love it. That's great. Thank you again, man, for taking the time. You're easy to find on online. At Todd's Planet on Twitter.
Yep. And
of course,
if you go to my website, toddmorse.com, and you put your email in there, and maybe mention that you heard me on the podcast, I'll send you my solo record for free.
Oh, nice. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. Thank you so much, man. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, have a great day, man. I guess
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you online. Thanks again.
Okay.
Okay. Take care, Todd.